Tonight on News 5 Live, police barricade National Assembly, but unions say there will be no violence. Belize entering COVID-19 third wave, and Lord Ashcroft says Belize needs to enter an IMF program. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's newscast.
It's a fact that you can access unlimited services with Smart. Tired of being measured or cut off when you need to be connected? It's a fact that when you sign up for Smart's Plus plan, you get unlimited talk, text, and unlimited data. And it's a fact that you can sign up with your group of up to 5 members for Smart's Share plans and up to 40 members for Smart's Enterprise plans for unlimited talk, text, and data. Smart has the true unlimited plans. That's a fact. Be smart and live smart.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Did you know that the energy BEL supplies comes from a mix of local renewable and non-renewable sources, including hydro, biomass, fossil fuel, solar, and imported energy from Mexico? We are developing new energy solutions, including adding solar generation to our energy mix and rooftop solar PVs. Have questions about solar energy? Want more ways to save on your energy costs? Join us for the next What's and Whys of Energy on Facebook Live to find out more about the options of emerging energy solutions that BEL has in store for Belize. Join us on Friday, April 23rd at 10 a.m.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
This newscast is brought to you by the Belize Bank Limited. Our country, your bank.
Good evening. Welcome to News 5 Live for Wednesday, April 21st. I am Marlene Cuellar. The financial plan for 2021 presented by Prime Minister John Briceño on April 9th will be hotly debated on Thursday and Friday in Parliament. News 5's Isani Cayetano looks at the issues on the table.
It promises to be a robust, albeit severely lopsided affair, considering the fact that the opposition is made up of only 5 elected members. The attendance of Denise Sister B. Barrow as era representative for Queen Square is uncertain given her absences from several sittings of the House of Representatives since the People's United Party took office in November of last year. The budget for the next 12 months is quite trim, taking into account the disastrous economic situation the country is facing. During the previous House meeting, PM Briceño laid bare the summary estimates for 2021-2022. Those projections are predicated on 4 grounds, which include allocations in key areas such as health and education.
That priority be given to spending in the areas of health, poverty mitigation, education, citizen security, rural development, and of course, the maintenance and development of the infrastructure of our national logistics network. Giving everyone a fair shot of prosperity, more so because of the inequities in society that are the extant crisis that compounded, is our urgent duty.
With a budget that's a hair's breadth above $1 billion, overall expenditure during the 2021 fiscal year will amount to roughly $200 million more. Government's wage bill continues to be the single largest chunk of its recurrent spending, with $413 million being set aside for salaries.
In this budget, the salaries and pensions of public employees will constitute 64 cents of every dollar collected by government, and the cost attendant to their work, such as utilities, fuel, travel, etc., accounts for another 18 cents of each dollar. That leaves just 18 cents of recurrent revenue, some $176 million, to make all our interest payments that are due on the $4.2 billion of accumulated debt, to fund all capital investment programs, and to settle principal repayments.
That's a cursory review of what is available for government to spend this year, as well as its priority areas. It is expected that the budget will be deconstructed based on these proposed figures. However, a healthy part of the debate will also include the drama that Parliament has come to be known for. The session 2 Fridays ago was punctuated by a walkout following the use of unparliamentary language. With the remainder of the week scheduled for discussion and the stage having been set, there is all likelihood that heated exchanges across the floor will inevitably take away from the grim figures presented, as well as the passage of the 10% wage cut.
The government will proceed, I trust, tomorrow. The date has been set. They're going to debate the budget over the next 2 days. We have served notice to the Minister of Labour that at the expiration of 21 days, we will proceed to industrial actions. We are already engaged in industrial action. At the end of 21 days, we will proceed to strike nationally.
On the outside of the Assembly building, preparations were underway earlier today to avert any potential unrest at Independence Plaza in light of the actions being taken by the unions. Teachers and public officers, as we've reported, are in a logjam with government over the pending salary cuts, which are already included in the budget. Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.
This afternoon in Belmopan, the Belize Police Department was busy placing barricades at the base of Independence Hill to prevent protesters and other members of the public from advancing towards the Assembly building during the budget debate. While the unions and government are at loggerheads over the looming salary cuts, government is taking no chances and has taken precautionary measures to avoid civil unrest. According to Vice President Dean Flowers, the Public Service Union is aware that steps would have been taken to ensure that things don't get out of hand during the next 2 days. He insists there will be no violence.
We are aware that is being done at this moment, and we have been aware that would have been done. It must be stated unequivocally that the joint unions enjoy the support of the security forces, and as such, like in similar manner that Special Branch would provide the Prime Minister with his daily security briefing, in similar manner we have been afforded the same courtesy So we are fully aware of the instructions that are going out to commanders. We're fully aware of the plan of actions that are being put in place. We are a discipline. We are a disciplined organization. We do not promote violence. We do not promote hatred, and we certainly do not promote division. And so the police officers are doing what they need to do to ensure that if there is any faction from outside the union who may want to cause civil unrest, that they can be dealt with accordingly.
Public officers took time off from work today to check up on their health and wellness amid the imminent salary cuts that they are facing. This morning, they visited health centers and clinics across the country to get checkups, as well as vaccinations against COVID-19. It is part of an ongoing series of activities leading up to industrial action at the end of a 21-day notice that has been served on the Briceño administration. First Vice President Dean Flowers of the Public Service Union provided an update on today's events.
What we requested of public officers today, Sani, was for them to visit their nearest clinics, because the union has been in receipt of numerous complaints for guidance and assistance to public officers as a result of this proposed cut. I think what we're seeing is a lot of anxiety amongst public officers, and we even have lost one sister who I know was really stressed because of this matter, even though of course we cannot tie her passing directly to this proposed cut. But what we're seeing is as a lot of public officers reaching out to the union, complaining about how this would affect them, and imploring us to do all that we can to stop the possibility of them being plunged below the poverty line. And we know that the government, through the Ministry of Public Service, provides an employee assistance program for public officers who may be dealing with stress, domestic violence, who might be in financial problems, substance abuse. And so we also realize that a lot of our members and a lot of public officers fall within those categories. And if it is that, based on the mandate being received from membership and public officers, we will engage in this fight, we felt it prudent for public officers to get an understanding, or at least an update on where they are health-wise.
PSU Vice President Dean Flowers has been vocal in expressing the union's objection to government's wage cut. He has not shied away from making it known that public officers are not happy with their salaries being reduced amid the current economic crisis. That frankness has led his detractors to bring to light what they call questionable land transactions involving Flowers. This afternoon, we asked Flowers to respond to the statements being made against him regarding several parcels of land that he has acquired.
This is a matter, Isani, that the now opposition, then government, the UDP, started. Similar to when we had these consultations with the Barrow administration back in April of last year. That was what they tried to do, discredit me by putting out my assets out there. Now, where it concerns any land that I may own, I want to say that within the lands department, every single landowner has a file, and what they should be putting out there is those files, the entire details of those files, in terms of whether or not any application that was submitted by Dean Flowers satisfied the letter of the law. The reason why I haven't found it necessary to comment on this is because As a Belizean, I have the right to purchase any land that I can afford or that anyone is selling. And if it is the government that has vacant land, as a Belizean, I have that right. I am a compliant citizen, both from an income tax level and a land tax position. I do not form part of that $387 million outstanding in land tax arrears.
Earlier this month, we told you that Sir Colville Young is stepping down as Governor General of Belize. He will vacate the post officially on the 30th of April. So Belize is expected to name a new individual to be considered as the next GG of Belize. Multiple credible reports coming out of government is that Froila Salam is the name that Belize will be putting forward to be the new Governor General. Salam is a Mopa Maya from San Antonio, Toledo, who holds academic degrees in anthropology and rural development. Her work in Belize has been centered in the fields of history, indigenous rights, and Maya culture. If Salam's nomination is accepted, then she would become Belize's third Governor General. But how does one's name get submitted for consideration, and what is the approval process like? News 5's Andrea Polanco found out more.
My friends, the greatest...
Sir Colville Young has been Belize's Governor General for the last 28 years. He was first appointed in November 1993 and will officially end his over 2 decades as GG at the end of this month. Sir Colville Young was preceded by Dame Elmira Manita Gordon. She was Belize's first Governor General from September 1981 through to November 1993. The Governor General of Belize is a representative of the head of state, Queen Elizabeth II. He or she is a ceremonial figure in that there is limited power that the Governor General can exercise. To the government of Belize, the GG is an executive authority, so the government then cannot pass laws without the GG's approval or signature. But the Belize Constitution states that when the GG is required to carry out a duty, he or she shall so do in consultation, which underscores that the GG doesn't have the authority to make decisions on his or her own. In special cases where the GG is required to act according to the Constitution, the Governor General must seek the advice and consensus of the Belize Advisory Council. According to our Constitution, the GG has the authority to appoint the Prime Minister and members of the Cabinet. Furthermore, that also comes with the authority to dismiss said government figures. But who can become a Governor General and what is required of the person whose name is submitted for consideration of this position? According to one former Cabinet Secretary, quote, "The most important consideration is that the person must be a person of substance who can earn and maintain the respect of the people of this country," end quote. The highly educated citizen of Belize should be able to garner respect from neighboring countries and the rest of the world, particularly the Commonwealth. The government, in consultation with the opposition, recommends this person of substance to be appointed as Governor General. That name goes to the Buckingham Palace in the United Kingdom, where the individual will be vetted and the name is then submitted to the Queen, who later signs a letter of appointment naming that person as her representative in Belize. The appointed GG takes an oath of allegiance and he or she is immediately subject to the provision of the Constitution. A former Cabinet Secretary says that from that point, quote, "It's a job of the Governor General to ensure that the Constitution is followed because the executive authority in Belize is vested in that Governor General," end quote. The GG therefore holds office at the pleasure of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. All Governors General in the Commonwealth serve in similar capacity as the GG in Belize. However, there are circumstances in the wider Commonwealth where some name changes have been made, where a Governor General has been replaced by a ceremonial president and, in some cases, an executive president who then becomes the head of state for that country. Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
Coming up, a sit-down with Lord Michael Ashcroft to discuss the economy, Belize Bank, and the Waterloo port. Find out what he said when we return. Stay with us.
Offside! Was that a goal? The Mega Bingo Progressive Jackpot is growing. You can win $144,138. Make sure to purchase your tickets from your nearest outlets and tune in to the live show airing this Wednesday, April 21st at 8 p.m. on Channel 5, Wave Radio, Radio Bahia, and Love FM. Or catch the show online. Log into Facebook or YouTube and search for Belize Mega Bingo to watch the game live. Don't miss out on all that mega cash. Mega Bingo is the game.
Welcome to Nazarene High School. You can apply today. Application fee is only $15. Completed forms must be submitted at the office at Nazarene High School, Princess Margaret Drive. Get your applications from the various primary schools in Belize City at the Nazarene High School office on Princess Margaret Drive and at the Nazarene High School Facebook page. Documents required: Standard 4, Standard 5, and Standard 6 report cards, and recommendation from principal or Standard 6 teacher. Nazarene High School, educating the mind morally, spiritually, and academically.
I was 17 and in love, and I thought he loved me too. But now I know that a loving partner should not take away your choice of clothes you wear or the music you listen to. He should not take away your purse, car keys, or your phone so that when your family calls, you cannot answer. If your partner is controlling you, it is domestic violence. Call 0800-A-WAY-OUT or our cell phone number, 672-9628. This message is brought to you by the National Women's Commission in collaboration with Miss Universe Belize with funding from the Engender and Spotlight Project.
Save, save, save. The credit union way.
Member owners are encouraged to save regularly, borrow wisely, and repay promptly.
No use keeping the money in your pocket. Soon as you turn wrong, you know you ain't got it. So as money goes from hand to hand, give your cash to the umbrella man. I telling you, save, save, save. The credit union way. Save, save, save. It will make you rich someday.
We are faced with crisis situations, and we take up the duty as the Red Cross staff and volunteers to respond to the humanitarian needs of affected people. One thing that is certain is that we now have a vaccine we can take to bring back some sense of normalcy for all of us. I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine. I will take the vaccine when it's my turn, and so will my staff and volunteers. I urge you to take it too. Hashtag Get Vaccinated Belize.
It is my time
to protect your life.
Don't wait to vaccinate.
I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine.
Do not hesitate, Belize. Vaccinate. Be COVID-19 safe.
The vaccine is the best way to protect lives.
Don't wait. Vaccinate.
If you care, love them.
Protect them.
Vaccinate them.
Rain or shine, any weather. When we go ball, we go Berger. Quality paint, no faded colors. When we go ball, we go Berger. Let your imagination run free. Any color for this place, when we say ball, that mean it don't peel. Quality in every color, lifetime guarantee. When we go ball, we go Berger. When we go ball, we go Berger. Rain or shine, any color you need. When we go ball, we go Berger.
Last week, the environmental community came out swinging at the Department of Environment, which granted environmental clearance to David Gegg's Port Magical. They said that Magical will have a negative environmental impact, particularly when taken in context with other proposed cruise ship ports. Among these other projects is the Waterloo proposal from the Ashcroft Alliance. The plans include onshore berthing for large cruise ships, and a bulk handling facility for imports and exports. The project is awaiting government clearance. And today, Lord Michael Ashcroft addressed the economic benefits for Belize City and identified the majority stakeholders in the project. He also responded to a major concern of environmental activists, saying there will be no offshore waste disposal.
It'll create something like 2.5 direct and indirect jobs in the south side in Port Loyola. And it's a $200 million project, most of which will be foreign currency. I believe it's the biggest ever proposed infrastructure project for Belize. And at this point of the economic cycle, rather brave.
Now, there has been approval for 2 other ports at this time, and there is the port in the south, Harvest Key. Many look at this project and say, well, do we really need another docking facility?
No, and all these are fair arguments. And this is what decisions have to be made. From my personal point of view, if there is no Waterloo project, on one hand, there'll be a sigh of relief. Because for me to embark at my age in trying to put a project together of this size is no mean feat. But it's also important to understand for those that feel a certain animosity towards me personally, is at the end of the day on this project, I will only personally have something like 20 or 25%. The majority will be the international port operators and international investors. But if Belize does not want the major cruise, the Oasis class, to come, that must be a policy decision, because they have made it clear that they will not come to ports in which there is tendering onto the onshore. And being onshore, in Belize it's about 60% come ashore because of the tendering. Onshore, they estimate that 90% will come. So there'll be a greater amount of tourists that will come ashore to be able to spend money and enjoy the country. And so it's not necessarily, what has happened so far is the environmentalists have given the go-ahead. But that's not a sort of a government type approval. Yeah. And so time will tell as to what happens.
The main pushback has been from the environmental groups who are concerned about this level of the impact on the environment.
Well, just to get that clear, yeah. The environmentalists believe that offshore dumping of the dredging will affect either the reef or the sea at that particular point. In the first instance, Waterloo went round the world and managed to get scientific evidence to actually demonstrate that this was not necessarily the case. But the government has made it clear that politically it's difficult to accept there'll be offshore dumping. Having said that, Waterloo has informed the environmentalists that it can go forward with onshore dumping. So that's the situation it is at the moment. But clearly, there can't be 3 ports built, but commercial reality will bite in at some point. And everyone will go running around having a pop at everybody else.
Lord Michael Ashcroft also spoke about the current economic crunch that Belize is facing. Ashcroft says that the government is staring down a tough decision, but one that must be made sooner rather than later. He put the challenges in context with the union's position on proposed measures to say that there are options to pursue, like the IMF, but that will also come with consequences, including the potential for a devaluation of the Belizean dollar. Here's how he puts it.
There is no point in running away from the fact that the economy is in a serious condition. There's no point in trying to escape that reality. And so the issue that the politicians and the government has to face is what is the path now going forward? And you can see that it is not possible to balance the budget as things stand. So something has to break. So the government looks at the expenditure and says that government expenditure, especially wages, civil servants, is a major component of that, and is now, in their view, trying to address that particular issue. And you've seen that the consequences of that and the reaction from the PSU and the teachers, the police, and others to that measure. But this is also a time to have a look at the income side. And I do have a sympathy for the civil servants at the moment of being first in line to take the cut. But I do think that measures should now be taken. And there has to be some dynamic leadership, which the Prime Minister is trying to put together. We have such things as should we enter an IMF program. Certainly it is something that should be considered. And there's a fear about going into an IMF program. But if Belize puts forward its particular red lines to the IMF in discussions, for example, we're not prepared to devalue our currency, then a program with the IMF will give both technical expertise, it will give access to financing, donor contributions. And so that side of things does have an advantage.
The IMF has warned that if we continue on this path, that we may very well face a devaluation. Do you think that that is a reality?
Yes, of course it is. There is no doubt that by any criteria, the Belize dollar is overvalued against the US dollar.
At the end of March, Scotiabank closed, ending more than 50 years in Belize, as signs were taken down after the bank was acquired by Belize Bank Corporation Limited, a subsidiary of Caribbean Investments Holding Limited. Belize Bank is now the largest commercial bank in Belize. When he appeared on Open Your Eyes this morning, Lord Ashcroft talked about what this means for banking in Belize.
So we're having a good look at where the business goes from this particular point. But one of the most exciting things, which again the bank is hoping to announce and has already been advertising on TV, is something called eCash.
The opportunity in being able to merge the largest and second largest banks in Belize, what does that mean for the future, the vision of what will now be this expanded bank?
Well, part of it is a hope that we can. There is in Central Bank at the moment a fully drafted Securities Act, which would enable the banks to be such things as providing bond financing for companies and to broaden the scope. And I think that type of activity needs to be there. And I think there should be more syndication of loans to businesses as well, that it's not just one bank, that the Belize Bank will talk to another bank and say, let's have a combined bond to help develop on this project, so on and so forth. So I think that will give a greater scope. But also to do this merger during a COVID or a difficult economic time, there's certain risks involved. We're having to compromise on a number of customers who are running into difficulties, and you have to accept that that is part of the part of the cycle, and working with government.
Can legislation help to tackle corruption in Belize while simultaneously cutting costs? That's what Lord Michael Ashcroft suggests. He says that a key piece of regulation that protects whistleblowers could encourage an anti-corruption agenda, but that legislation should also protect the whistleblowers against retaliatory actions when they report suspected acts of corruption. Here's how he explains it.
You have to tackle areas which the unions talk about, which is corruption.
Yeah.
That is the part of the elephant in the room. I made the suggestion, and the word has been used, for a Whistleblowers Act.
Yes.
Now, those are words, but what's the content of that act? A type of suggestion that I put forward was that a whistleblower who provides information that leads to the recovery of cash or assets gets 10% and immunity from prosecution. So that's part of a program that, if the government is serious about corruption, is to follow that path.
Ashcroft points out that there are other tools and regulations that government can adopt to reduce corruption. One of the measures refers to the unexplained wealth law, or wealth order, where if probes show that someone's total wealth exceeds their lawfully obtained wealth, he or she will have to explain how they achieved that wealth. Using this legal recourse, authorities can confiscate the proceeds of crime and/or corruption.
The United Kingdom in 2017 passed this piece of legislation, which I'll describe, and I believe Trinidad has just passed it, which is, if somebody demonstrably has assets that the known income does not substantiate why they have those assets, that they're served an order, and if they cannot explain the source of their wealth, the state confiscates those assets. So it depends how serious the country wants to be in remedying some of the problems of the nation that go back a long time and have been built up over a long time.
After the break, COVID-19 numbers on the rise, and 2 communities have the most cases. Find out which ones when we come back. But first, here's a look at the latest figures.
DG and the National Bank of Belize are proud to partner with the Government of Belize to facilitate the disbursement of Belize COVID-19 cash transfer funds via our safe and easy-to-use mobile pays platform. After getting approval that you will be a beneficiary of the relief funds, you will be informed by SMS when your monthly payment has been deposited to your mobile pays account, which Digistore or National Bank branch you were assigned to, and when you can go in to collect. You must bring along the phone that the notification was sent to in order to present your account number and to receive your validation code and SMS receipt. You must also bring along a valid Social Security card. After your information is verified, you will receive a validation code which you are to give to the agent. The agent will hand over the full amount of funds allotted to you for that month, and you will receive an SMS receipt with a unique number for that transaction. Digi and the National Bank of Belize are committed to the development of innovative services for the benefit of all Belizeans.
Pelican, the beer of Belize.
¿Sabías que la energía que suministra BEL viene de una mezcla de fuentes renovables locales y no renovables que incluyen fuentes hídricas, biomasa, combustibles fósiles, energía solar y energía importada de México? Estamos desarrollando nuevas soluciones energéticas, incluyendo la generación de energía solar a nuestra matriz energética e instalación de paneles solares. ¿Tiene preguntas sobre la energía solar? ¿Quiere conocer nuevas formas de ahorrar energía reduciendo sus costos? Únase a nosotros para los próximos Watts and Whys of Energy en Facebook Live para obtener más información sobre las opciones de soluciones energéticas emergentes que BEL tiene reservadas para Belice. Únete a nosotros viernes 23 de abril a las 10 a.m.
The unions are singing a different tune. Now they want Belizeans to join them to stand against corruption. But Belizeans know the truth. It is not about corruption this time. We all stood against the corruption of the UDP. We marched proudly with the BNTU then. And on November 11th, Belizeans stood together in solidarity to get rid of the UDP and its stench of corruption. So when the BNTU says it is standing against corruption now, that is a lie. The truth is that this is all about the pay cut. Government has shown its willingness to compromise and to do things the right way. We welcome the scrutiny of the unions and all Belizeans. Good governance is a must, but the unions should not lie to Belizeans. This is all about the money, not about corruption. Our fight is not with the unions. We have to do the responsible thing for all Belizeans and for the country. Think about it. Solidarity with Belize and for Belize. Solidarity forever.
The number of COVID-19 cases reported over the last 7 days has almost tripled when compared to the number of confirmed cases reported in the first 7 days of April. Between April 1st and April 9th, a total of 32 new cases were reported by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, while 81 cases were reported between April 12th and 20th. The increases cause for concern to the ministry, and just where are the most cases? According to Minister Michelle Shabat, both Belize City and Guinea Grass villages are being monitored as hotspots for COVID-19.
We did anticipate that because of the very nature of Easter and the way we are accustomed to socializing over that Easter weekend, that we would have seen increase in the numbers of cases. I can tell you though that the hotspots that we are looking at right now are Belize City. Belize City is one of the hotspots, as well as Guinea Grass in the Orange Walk district. Those are the two areas we're looking at very closely. And yeah, the numbers have gone up. Up to yesterday for April, we have 122 new cases compared to the entire month of March, where we only had 116 cases. And we're just about mid-month in April.
Yeah.
And so we're very much concerned with the rising numbers that we're seeing. Some of the contact tracing that we have seen for Belize City, we believe are arising out of the Guinea Grass area, where those persons are employed in Belize City, but actually live in Guinea Grass. And we believe that the virus, the spread came through them, and that we are attributing to illegal border crossing. And we are seeing too many of those cases recently. And so we continue to warn that our borders are closed. We continue to warn that the numbers in both Guatemala and in Mexico are skyrocketing. They are now seeing a third wave. And in Belize, we are trying our best to avoid that third wave coming to Belize.
Public sector nurses are currently operating on a work-to-rule basis as a sign of solidarity with the joint union's position on government's proposed wage cuts. The Nurses Association of Belize has also gone on record to say that they're prepared to take industrial action alongside the unions if it ever comes to that. Their boss, Minister of Health and Wellness Michelle Shabat, must now ensure that public health facilities remain up and running if nurses do not take on overtime. And while the nurses have not expressed any personal griping with their minister, the PSU has gone on record to voice their discontent with the minister's leadership. Minister Shabat responded saying he tried to keep healthcare workers from getting salary cuts. He also addressed the recent controversy about the tender process for new Ministry of Health vehicles.
It gives me no joy as the Minister of Health and Wellness to say to our nurses and to our technicians and to our doctors and to all of our healthcare workers that they must take a cut in their salary after all the sacrifices that they have made. It is not lost upon us that these people have sacrificed themselves and their families to keep the rest of our population safe. We are in a very difficult economic situation in our country. And I understand very well that nobody wants to take a cut in their salary. I understand very well that they have financial obligations that they need to meet. However, I want to say this very clearly that although I am not one of the negotiating members of the government team with the unions, it is my understanding that from the onset, the government negotiators tried their best to exclude our healthcare workers from the salary cut. However, that was not accepted. We can't lay off staff at all. That is a matter for the Ministry of the Public Service. And I do realize that I have been targeted to a large extent by the Public Service Union. And I'll tell you this, Marlene, in terms of the vehicles, that tendering process was handled by the procurement unit of the ministry. And they, in fact, had gotten, I believe, 7 different offers, 7 different bids on the vehicles. And the vehicle, the ones that we chose as a ministry to purchase, we chose that one because it was a pickup that they were, an intermediate pickup that they were offering us, and that was about $2,000 more expensive than the next closest one, which was a basic model vehicle. And so we felt that we would get more money's worth in going with the intermediate one. And I can tell you that sale has not gone through. That purchase by the Ministry of Health and Wellness has not materialized. So there's no issue there.
The ministry has acquired thousands of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines from the United Arab Emirates. This donation was not met with the kind of fanfare that was seen during the handing over of previous vaccine donations. And that may be because the Sinopharm vaccine is yet to receive approval from the World Health Organization. Sinopharm, a Chinese state-owned company, is developing 2 COVID-19 vaccines. According to reports, back in January of 2021, the United Arab Emirates approved one of those vaccines for use. Additionally, the Sinopharm vaccine has been administered to over 1 million people in China to date. Minister Shabat says the Ministry of Health and Wellness is holding back on doling these out.
We did receive 10,000 doses of the Sinopharm vaccination, which were a donation from the United Arab Emirates. And that is one of the vaccinations that is in the process with the WHO, and it is going through the process of obtaining approval. And it is anticipated that the approval will be forthcoming by the end of this month. Marlene, I don't want to say the fight, but the challenge to obtain sufficient vaccinations for a country is a formidable one. And we are not the only country that is confronting that. As you know, CARICOM countries and the smaller countries like us have great challenges in obtaining our vaccinations. And the Sinopharm has been used in several other countries. We have taken the position that we are accepting the donation. However, we are going to be waiting for WHO approval before we start offering it to our citizens.
A COVID-19 vaccination registration app was launched today. Currently, it allows people who fall under phase 1, 2, and 3 to register online for an appointment to be vaccinated. But at the moment, there are no long lines at clinics giving the vaccines, and the process only takes 15 to 20 minutes for most citizens. So why the transition to online registration? Dr. Natalia Baer, Technical Advisor for Maternal and Child Health in the Ministry of Health and Wellness, gave us an explanation.
This is ready now online. You can find it on the Ministry of Health and Wellness Facebook page. We have both the instructional video and the link for the app. So anyone that have access to the link can use the app for registration. The link is brsa.health.gov.bc. The purpose is for persons to register, and once you are registered and you access the vaccination at the vaccination site, the process should be a bit more smoother, because then we will have all the information that the person entered in the app and readily available at the location. The work that the staff is doing there when you walk in, registering, that time we could use for observation of patients and to vaccinate more persons. So having the information uploaded beforehand makes it easier for us and for the person that is accessing or requiring the vaccine. And the next thing is the scheduling. When the person registers, they will receive a text message that they were registered successfully. Then when the staff go through the list of persons that sign up to receive the vaccine, then they will do the scheduling. And then the person would receive a second text message to their phone, to their cell phone, stating the time and the location where the vaccine will be administered. And at the vaccination site, once the vaccine is administered, then that is also documented in the app. And then they will get a third text message, and this will be the vaccination card. Well, not exactly the card, but the vaccination information as a text message on their phone.
To date, a total of 35,909 Belizeans have been vaccinated. When we return, Belize only contributes a tiny amount to worldwide emissions. But what are the other ways we can mitigate global warming? Details up next.
Electricity. We use it to power our appliances, charge our devices, and light our home. Let's all practice energy conservation at home and in the workplace. That's unplug chargers when not in use, lights off when not in the room, turn off fans and TVs. You can also look for Energy Star products and change lights to LEDs, which reduce energy cost. Let's all save energy.
Hola, Tony.
Hey, Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate.
Want to leave a lasting impact when you travel? Then travel locally.
Make memories to treasure for a lifetime while making a difference. Make protected areas your next travel destination. With over 25 protected areas under the APAMO umbrella, the possibilities for adventure and education are endless. You can bond with friends and family while trekking through the jungles to discover natural pools and breathtaking views. Or take that snorkeling trip to the magnificent world of coral gardens and marine life. Then camp under the stars to end off that perfect day in nature. By visiting protected areas, you are helping to preserve valuable plant and animal life. You're building local communities and you're keeping our natural and cultural heritage alive. You have that power. Travel locally and make an impact. We invite you to visit a protected area near you and discover the beauty of Belize's wild places. APAMO, the voice of Belize's protected areas.
Currently, we're using Smart Elite VoIP calling plan. We use it interbranch, we use it to call outside, and we also use it to call international. It's far cheaper than what we used to have before. Our equipment are new, PBX box is new. So the PBX is very good because I can call to my Sartaneja branch, I can call to my Kikaka branch, I can call to San Pedro branch, and there's no cost using the PBS. Actually right now, since we're in different locations, I can call main office from where I am at a no cost using the PBX system. I would recommend it, sure I would, especially the big enterprises who has a lot of employees. There's a lot of reduction in costs, 50% of saving. But that on a year, it's a lot of money that we're saving. Money that we could return to our members, since we give back dividend to our members.
Visit our showroom or call 670-6710 to find out how Smart's corporate plan and PBX systems can benefit your business. Consultation is free.
Climate change requires urgent action from all countries to build resilience against the phenomenon. Back in 2015, the government of Belize approved a national climate change policy and established a national climate change office, which has been working on developing partnerships and getting the country the much needed assistance and support to adapt to climate change. While Belize's greenhouse gas emissions are minuscule, other actions have been taken to mitigate the impacts of climate change.
Although the National Climate Change Office falls under the Ministry, the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Climate Change and Disaster Risk Management, we still look at climate change not only from an environmental standpoint, but we factor as well the social and some of the economic impacts. For reality, this is what is happening in the southern part of the country, right? Where you see, of course, some coastal erosion. As an office, we realize that there was a gap when it looks at overall capacity building. So this is our approach, because we want at every juncture to not only enhance the skills of those within the office, but also within our sister ministries, and also assisting NGOs in this process. So for standardization and looking at improving the quality.
As Dr. Gladden shared with the media the findings of a recent assessment on the effects of climate change, we asked about the impact of COVID-19 as it relates to greenhouse gas emissions and climate change efforts. The Chief Climate Change Officer says that both the pandemic and climate change affect vulnerable populations.
As it relates to emissions globally, and this of course trickles down nationally, right? But not to that extent nationally, but globally we have seen that the greenhouse gases and the emissions were falling in 2020, right? But that is only something that is temporary. As businesses start to open up, as some of the restrictions are reduced, of course, that is going to revert to what it was before. So it won't be a halt to climate change, right? Relates to our activities, we had within our work plan to do a lot of engagement, and that is why when the pandemic came about, a lot of our on-the-ground activities, yes, we can still communicate, but we realize as well that there are some gaps in reaching some of the communities. And if you look at COVID-19 and climate change, right, and this is a snippet from a session that I attended, that the most vulnerable to COVID-19 are also the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change.
The 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference, also known as COP26, is the 26th of its kind that is scheduled to be held in the city of Glasgow from November 1st to the 12th, 2021, under the presidency of the United Kingdom. Negotiating at the conference on behalf of the region, including Belize, is the Small Islands Development States.
We negotiate under them, right? But nationally, we still have, or what I consider, or positions, right? In this case, especially if we're looking at the Conference of the Parties, this one coming up in November in particular, right? Where our key focus nationally is, of course, climate finance, right? But if we're looking at climate finance, we also have to factor a certain level of accountability and transparency. So we are taking, as an authority, we are taking the necessary steps in the development of a national monitoring, reporting, and verification system, because all of these, this is a requirement when we're looking at overall accountability, right? Because we need to, of course, measure, and without measuring, or if you've never measured, it's difficult to manage, right? So one of the key thematic areas that we will be looking at going into this year's COP, apart from, well, is climate finance and also technology. We can't forget the science.
Just ahead,
Honey,
a recent drowning prompts a lifeguard for safety tips. Find out what to do if you find yourself in dangerous waters. But first, here is the weather forecast with data from the Belize Met Service.
Has refused to compromise. That is a lie. The government has done nothing but compromise. 1,500 public officers exempted from the pay cut. Loans to public officers affected. Leniency from lending institutions. Massive cuts in government spending. A structured, centralized procurement system. The active participation of unions in decision-making. Significant cuts in ministers' salaries and allowances. The drafting of good governance legislation. The government has offered all that and continues to meet with the unions to find a way forward, but the unions have refused to listen. Our fight is not with the unions. We have to do the responsible thing for all Belizeans and for the country. Think about it. Solidarity with Belize and for Belize. Solidarity forever.
Electricity is an essential part of our daily lives. We use lights and household appliances every day. Therefore, we must ensure our homes are wired properly. At Benny's, we have certified wires with the right gauges and insulation. BEL certified meter sockets, authentic GE and Square D panel boxes and breakers, which protect the wires inside your home from being overloaded. When wiring your home, avoid imitation brands which can be very dangerous. Give yourself and your family peace of mind using genuine electrical products available at Benny's. Quality and savings.
2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected.
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Es un hecho que puedes obtener servicios ilimitados con Smart. ¿Cansado de que se corte la línea cuando más necesitas estar conectado? Es un hecho que cuando te suscribes al plan de Smart Plus, obtienes llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Y también es un hecho que te puedes suscribir con un grupo de 5 miembros al plan Smart Share y hasta 40 miembros al plan Smart Enterprise para llamadas, textos y datos ilimitados. Smart tiene los verdaderos planes ilimitados. Es un hecho. Sé Smart y vive de forma Smart.
Today, Herwin Godoy Sr. was laid to rest following funeral services at the Wesley Church in Belize City. Godoy Sr. drowned on Sunday at the river in Grace Bank, and his body was recovered Tuesday morning. One of the men who helped in the search efforts is a lifeguard. Tonight he shares not only the traumatic experience, but also tips for swimmers in pools and open water, including the sea and river.
Herwin Godoy was swimming across the river when he made an about turn. Unfortunately, he was pulled under by the water current to his death and never made it to the river bank. Even as his brother and a friend tried to rescue him, he could not be saved.
I said, Herwin, you swim come to me, happy, happy, happy. But when I started to realize that he had drift away, so he turned back. But like, so in my mind, I tell him, no turn back, continue to come across, and you relax. Right on the bank, and he turned back, so he start swimming. But the more he turned, I was going to swim, like the current push him away. So right away I tell my friend, I have to watch out good. But he swim strong. But I think he feel like he come touch the bottom, but he can't touch. So he got on the first time, he realized he can't touch it, fight come up back. He started to swim again, right? Second time he got on again, a little closer in, try to touch, come up, can't. And then I tell my friend, let's go. But the distance we left on too far. So we try for our best. I try my best. My friend, he made far ahead of me, closer. He do his thing. Right? The third time my brother got on and he never come up.
We started to swim, right? And I was the one to reach him first, right? And I saw him go down the second time, so I said the third time when he come up, he's not going to come up back. When I went down to try to save him, the only thing I saw was his bubbles, so I went more down, and I was already tired. I was fatigued, right? I was tired. And when I saw him and he had his hand out to reach for me, and I grabbed his hand. When I grabbed his hand, I was tired, so I had to come up, and by the time I went back down, he was gone.
Miguel Usher is a trained lifeguard with 5 years experience. He was part of the search team that took to the river diving to recover Godoy's body. The tragic incident over the weekend has him sharing some life-saving tips to keep in mind when you or your friends and family go swimming. He compares the differences in a pool and open water. A key point, do not panic.
Swimming in a pool, you can see the bottom of the pool. There's lifeguards around the pool, right? So you're a bit safe. The difference between the sea and the river, that's open water, right? The river, we can't see the bottom of the river. So if you go anywhere and you want to go swim for the weekend or anything, ask villagers that know about the river. The river has a strong current, have a really strong current. And it could be deadly for someone that could swim, but they panic real quick and tragedy might happen, right? And the sea, we got to be very careful with the sea because they have really strong, well, to be honest, from my experience, the sea current is stronger than the river current, right? Because the sea, if something happened to you, it's really open water. We don't know where to search, where anything to begin from, right? And I really want to advise people, if they're drinking, don't go in the water, don't go near water. You want to be in control of the water.
The traumatic incident is the second time that Usher has witnessed someone drowning despite all efforts to save them.
It is not a nice feeling to see someone go down in front of you and try to, you can't save them, right? Because of the water, you can't do nothing, and you can't do nothing about it. If you get caught up in the current by anyhow, right, don't panic. Just relax yourself, calm down yourself, and turn back way, float for your back, and make the current drift you, right? Make the current drift you. Don't fight with the current, don't beat up yourself, because you got to be in control. You got to be in control of the water, right? Turn for your back, float, and make the current drift you. The current will drift you, and you're carrying to shore, you're carrying to the bank side, and you just hold up on something, and safety will come.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, please remember, wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.